boom, according to that I am live. I'm slightly nervous whether I am live or not. Let's just make sure that I am. And there I am. It's good. The health is good. I am here. It's been a while. How are you all? Last week, of course, we had, instead of doing Tokyo Tonight, we did the 2.5 Voyages, the first one in a while, to feature BLK UNK's movie The Wait, which is based on the making of Mountain. I've actually got to go and put the links back on that, but yeah, you can go and check it out from SB Bowl. Oh geez, what's it called? Anyway, all the info is there in the video information of the last video. We can go and check that out, and yeah, it was pretty good. It's worth a watch. Yeah, there's been a lot going on in Japan, and I haven't shown, I haven't done much information about that lately. I haven't done any news shows or anything. I've been on business trips. One to Seattle, one to Korea. I've got another one coming up to Hong Kong and Singapore. So you know, it's been all go the last few weeks. So yes, I'm sorry I haven't been able to do this lately, but it is good to be back. Hey, there's BLK UNK. Good to see you, and I did like it. As we tried to talk about, we didn't get to talk about the actual documentary or show, movie, as much as I wanted to on that 2.5 Voyages. I guess that's how it goes. But there again, there weren't so many spoilers as a result, so it is worth watching. Same bowl crew, not SB crew, that's right, same bowl crew. I'm sorry, I was tired. So anyway, it's great to see you all. I've got some polls. I'm doing an experiment with the video tonight. I've put like 4 different polls. I don't know if they're like in the way of the screen, or if they're even visible, or if they'll show when this is a live stream or not, or if they won't show until later on. I'm just kind of curious partly to see how they work, and if they are any good. So tell me, can you guys see the polls? There should be like 4. I'm going to talk related to topics I'm going to talk about tonight. One is the 280 characters for Twitter coming out, and whether that's a good or bad thing. Japan politics, there's a lot to talk about tonight, so I'm going to talk about it because it's me. And frankly, I would talk about it even if you all vote 100% you don't want me to. So tough. But at the same time, I'm kind of curious if you actually find it interesting to let me talk about that sort of thing. Hey, don't say sorry, BLK UNK. It was good. Black unicorn. I don't know what that means, by the way. No, it's always good to talk. It's always good to talk to you. It was actually a lot of fun, so don't worry about that. But yeah, so coming back, is it okay to talk Japanese politics? Another one talking about the theme of US remakes of Japanese movies. I've seen Ghost in the Shell and Death Note, and as movies I thought they were okay. That said, I'm not a big anime freak, and I hadn't seen the anime movies of those. And I appreciate, you know, I've seen other remakes of movies like The Departed, of course, you know, geez, the Magnificent Seven, things like that. You always get sort of those. And everyone says, oh, the original was better, and hey, maybe it was, but at the same time, it's because of those remakes that in some ways a lot of people discover those originals, which is a good thing. I kind of like the feeling, and they are okay movies, good movies, stand out on their own. I mean, you know, you can talk about how the remakes are, but that's another topic I want to go through tonight. And finally, just a general thing about the format of this show. What do you want more of? You know, hell, I'm probably going to do it the way I want to do it, but I'm interested to hear what you guys think, the ones who watch. So anyway, first question, do people see any polls? And I see Ty Givens saying that he doesn't. By the way, Ty, I owe you a message back on Facebook, and I'm sorry about that. It's just been crazy. It has, trust me. But yes, you're coming to Japan. It would be good to catch up, and I will message you back about that. People are not seeing the oh, and I'm seeing something that the bad video setup. Use keyframing or 4 seconds less. Currently keyframing is not being set often enough. The keyframing is 8 seconds. Okay, I'm getting an error message, but I think it still is okay anyway. I hope you can see the stream okay. Where should you look for the polls? That's a good question. I don't know where they're going to show up. They should show live. Perhaps if you try refreshing the video now that it's live. Try that for a second. I'm just curious to see this myself, because if it works, it is a feature I would like to use during the show. So let's have a look. Boom. As I look at my own Twitter, let's see if I can find this video. And let's go. Boom. Now there is an eye on the top of the video. Oh, there it is. There's an eye. If you put your cursor over the screen, there is an eye. And from that you can pull up the... I gotta mute myself now. Let's turn that off. I can see the polls. Oh, Just about lost my stuff. And you put your cursor over that and you can see the polls. So yeah, there we go. Hey, Matagajinka, good to see you. And good reminder, actually, I'm planning to make some music on the end of the thing tonight. So yes. Famous, yes, then the video cuts out. So okay, that was a risky maneuver, but it's something new. And do me a favor, fill in the polls, or just casually do it while you're listening to me talk, and tell me how that goes. And let's get into the stuff that I picked out to talk about on the show for tonight. So yes, hey Dave Hunter. Well, let's see who's here. Actually, that's pretty good. So let's go through the comments. We've got Robert Olddude, and we got my good friend Steve Miller, who I didn't get to see in Korea this time because he is now in Washington DC, but had a very good time in Korea nonetheless. But good to have you here, sir. Who else we got? We got Abel Rosario. Good to have you along. We've got Mr. Cordy Chep. Always good to have you along here for every show. Very good to see you. ASDF Bikuri Mark 12131. Russian car names are also fun. Car cams. Oh yes, of course, the insurance car cams. Those are very good to watch. Who else we got in here? We have Ty Givens. Great to have you watching live. We got Sasimang 28172. Who I keep getting confused, but I think you're one of the three old dudes, right? I always get mixed up with the usernames around that. Good to see Robert Olddude, of course, there as well. Who else we have in here? We have Realm 36. Hello, indeed. It's Dean. Oh, it's Dean. Okay, there we go. Tyrant T. I see the. Well, they're not using Tyrant T anymore, but okay, fair enough. But Realm 36, gotcha. Good to have you along. And who else we got? BLK, UNK, Steve Miller. Boom, indeed. We got Tim the Asian Ink. I thought that said Tim the Hispanic for a minute, but no, it's Tim the Asian Ink. Okay, it's good to see you, Tim the Asian Ink. And we got Odie Jr. First time I've seen you in a while, although I haven't been away myself, so you're totally forgiven for that. Cool, Hoshino. He wants to have a date with Koike. Well, you have issues that I can't help you with, I'm afraid, sir, but it's still good to have you along regardless. Charles Talk, good to have you along. Yeah, Charles Talk actually just asked me before the show, would I consider talking about the Fukuoka high school, where, was it even a high school? It was like 16-year-old kid was like kicking a teacher, and someone recorded it in class and all the students were laughing. That kid's in jail now, and hopefully he's going to get expelled. That's assault. I mean, that's just straight assault, and the punk kids were laughing. I mean, I don't know what school that was, but, you know, that's not a good advertisement for that school. So I'm not going to talk much about it other than I'm glad that the kid who did it's in jail, which is where he belongs. And I'm not going to. Yeah, there's a viral video. I tweeted it myself. I did tweet it, but I don't like talking about stuff like that. So there we go. Mr. Cordy Chip answered the polls, and all of a sudden eyeglasses on. Well, that's what answering polls does. It gives me glasses. Quint Ranked, good to have you along. Where should you look for the polls? Just for those looking again, put your cursor over the video when you're watching. There'll be a little eye on the top. You click that, and the polls pull down. I did 4, which is maybe a little bit excessive. I was just wondering what they would look like. So, but still, it's just as a fun exercise. I'm kind of curious as to your answers, and I'm also maybe wait till you've seen the rest of the show for some of them, because we're going to make them topics in the show. But there we go. What about the cheese? Oh, what about the cheese? The cheese is still coming from Europe soon. It's still no closer to coming from New Zealand, but who knows? I'm hopeful one day the cheese will make it here. Robert XXX001, good to see you, and it's gone. That's scary. The stream health is good. The stream health is good. So I know I'm here now. I hope I wasn't gone for a while there. Herb Toka, good to see you. Oh, Criso Della Erikeku, good to see you. Wow, we've got lots of cool people here actually. Kuma-san, I'm glad that you made it for once. Seriously, every time I've been wondering. It's great to have you along, and use the comments, talk to me. That's what it's here for. By the way, I've got a slightly different setup with the camera. I've put it on a mount behind the monitor rather than on top of the monitor, which I guess means when I'm looking at the screen, I'm going to be looking off camera more, but I guess when I'm looking at you, I don't know, it's a bit of a better shot like this. Plus I think it's more isolated from the sound. I've also put the mic right beside the camera this time, so it's just slightly different, but see how you like it. Who else we got in here? We got Herb Toka. We have Lysander 45. Great to see you indeed. Good to catch you. I've been away myself. You probably haven't missed them. It's been me not being around, so it's good to have you back. Odie Jr., no demerits. Well, maybe 1 or 2. No, it's okay. Seriously, I deserve the demerits for lack of attendance. I haven't been attending my own show, which is a bigger problem. Matagajinka, Herb Toka. Yeah, we're all good. So let's get into it. What are we talking about? First thing is, I got featured twice. My Twitter account got featured twice. It got featured on BuzzFeed Japan, such as that is Kyla Ryan. Thank you, BuzzFeed Japan, for featuring me. 2 of my tweets from a very old Gaijin Confession Friday thread on things which I've talked about here before, but I'll feature your story since you featured me. So thank you, Kyla Ryan from BuzzFeed Japan. And what was the story? The story wasn't Japanese, but it was 外国人が日本で生活について本音を漏らすハッシュタグが面白い. This is talking about Gaijin Confession Friday, translating a selection of interesting Gaijin Confession Fridays, and it appears that they found me slightly interesting. So great. It makes me extremely excited to be found interesting ever. Seriously, it's a huge surprise to me. So yes, that's great. By the way, ELH, great to have you along, and I'm glad that you caught a live stream at last as well. This is what it's all about. I love getting people here in the comments so that we can talk. Also, Steve from Berkeley, which in itself was kind of impressive. Good to have you here, Steve. Best way to start out your week. Wow. Okay. Well, that's very whatever gets you going. Glad to be of service. So Davo Hunter, good to see you, Davo. Yuck, BuzzFeed. I know, but it's Japanese BuzzFeed, and they're featuring me, so they are the most wonderful people in the world now, okay? I understand it. So there we go. Kyla Ryan, BuzzFeed stuff she found from Gaijin Confession Friday. One of some of the favorite ones here, and she translated them into Japanese. Not always accurately, but hey, it'll do. So the famichiki, the crappy, greasy fried chicken from Family Mart. Sorry, not sorry. That's kind of a confession. Some of these aren't really confessions. That's an issue I generally have with this. Another one relating to Family Mart is that they never ask for my point card. I have a point card and I never give it. I mean, seriously, they give like less than 1% in points, and it just slows down the transaction. So they always ask me for it because they have to, and I say I don't ask for it anyway. But there we go. He never gets asked for it. Don Quixote, he kept hearing donkey, which, by the way, the nickname for it is donkey, so it is confusing, and thought that the Don Quixote was katakana for Donkey Hotel, and the penguin mascot confused. Well, that's embarrassing. That's awkward. There we go. Here's the first one for me at my first Gokon, my first ever matchmaking party I was invited to. I sat at the wrong table and spent 10 minutes hitting on some very lovely ladies from Sony who were there for a business dinner. And they were actually kind of hot. I mean, it was seriously, I actually did better at the business dinner than I ended up doing at the real Gokon that night. And it was exactly like that illustration. So thank you for featuring that one. And I kept reading down, I thought that was the only one. But there we go. For me, I made this mistake. The Maru department stores, they have like a circle, which is a Maru and an I. And so we read it as Oi Oi. I read it like that as well. So Enrico Pangang, I'm with you, seriously. I did the same thing. We also have sometimes Mike Smith. You know the Japanese tradition that when you go somewhere you bring back chocolates and you give them out to everyone in the office. It's extremely bad form to eat the chocolates yourself that you brought back. I do that too. I mean, they're delicious. Why would you buy them if you didn't like them? And you know, yeah, I do sneak well myself, although that is confession worthy, so I would say that is a good choice. This is kind of funny. This person says that she heard her neighbors talking about the increase in gaijin in their mansion, which means an apartment building. Actually, it's just her wearing different wigs. So there you go. Is that her? Okay, well there we go. Apparently she wears different wigs, and they thought that there were an increasing number of foreigners in the mansion. That's pretty cool. An American here tells people that he's Canadian to avoid Trump conversations. I'm very sorry about that. So there you go. Pretends not to know. All components have been to have a purpose, except for the 6 lonely strands of spaghetti under your chicken karaage. That's not really a confession. I mean, it's informative, it's useful, it's interesting, but it's not really a confession. But we'll go with it. I mean, these things are kind of fun, you see. Tikyo Sam, thank you for the public service announcement. You Coloradan people. Seriously, as if the altitude wasn't enough already. Okay. Me, they featured me a second time. Seriously, I mean, BuzzFeed. This is like, obviously this is like the top, most intellectual publication in Japan now. I mean, they featured me. They're giving the best sources. So here we go. When I was looking, I changed the thermostat to 23 degrees. In Japan, they set it to 28 degrees in most offices. 25, 26 is honestly I set it for about 25 and people put it back to 26, but if it's like really crazy hot, like it's been 28 for a long time, I'll set it to 23 to cool it down, because it's too much. And feeling awkward when talking in Japanese on the train with another gaijin who doesn't speak English. I get that. So I mean, I don't do that very much myself. But yeah, I don't feel awkward speaking Japanese with other gaijins now, but some people do, and I get it. So yes, TQ-san, these are gaijin confessions. A bunch of them got featured on BuzzFeed this week. Which yes, in fact, I think it was Lysander 45 was good enough to tell me. I think that's right. And cool, they featured me twice, so why not? They featured me, I'll feature them. It's a fine piece of journalism, is the only way I can describe this. So that was kind of cool. I flew to Seoul and back, of course. I also went to Seattle and back, and one thing I like to do is I like to sit up against the airplane window, and lately more and more airlines are like not even making you put away your stuff when they take. In America, they're changing the rules so that you can like keep looking at your iPad or your phone when the plane takes off. And if you're discreet about it, you're not really a dick or too obvious about it, you can kind of push the theater window seat, especially for a short flight like the flight to Japan. You can, you know, if they tell you to put it away, you got to put it away. But you can put your iPhone up against the window, and I like to take little hyperlapses, and yeah, you get pretty sweet footage. So you know, you can sort of see. It was raining and at night actually when I took off, so sure, it's a little bit crazy, but. I think the return, actually the flight into Seoul was pretty good. Although you can only really see the wing because it's cut out in the middle there. Yeah, I wish there was some way that you could get this to go full, for it to fit in the screen properly. Anyway, here's what it's like to land in Haneda at night. Those are boats, that's Tokyo Bay. And it only gets interesting at the very, very end when you see the runway and the lights, and it's been raining, so it's nice and shiny, and then it bumps, and then the video ends. But still, there's some music there by Tai Nakamura, some great music. Beat My World, I think is the name of the track. Very good track there, and it's a fun video to make, so that's why I put that there. There's the 2.5 Yoshi's live special from last week with BOKUNK, the Wait, go watch it. The links are on the video from last week, so go and check in the video information. It was good. I wonder if I spelled your name right. I don't know if you're saying that to me or not. BOKUNK, this is the problem. I talk at the video screen and then I look back at the comments and I see, I don't know if it's true. Hey, Cooper's World, good to see you. Been a while indeed. Good to have you back. NK and Kodos, great that you made it. Thank you for joining. And good to see all you guys. And sorry if I'm missing anybody there. Why can't you use phones on planes? College humor. I've got to look that up. I've been getting behind on my college humor, so I've got to check that out. Hey, Jace Mackey, good to see you. So 20 is good. More than 24 should only be found in the depths of hell known as summer. 20 is cold. I don't know. In Australia or Singapore, I know it's kind of normal to put it like 18 or 20. In Japan, 23, and people will be calling the police or an ambulance or both. So, yeah. Talking to me, says BOKUNK. You wonder if I spelled my name right? Did I spell my name wrong? Maybe I did. Well, anyway, it is what it is. Let's get into it. Oh, this is kind of cool. There's a new luggage service. One thing that you always get when you're backpacking around Tokyo is just there aren't that many lockers and places to put your bags and stuff. You know, and Tokyo is a compact city, so you want to travel around. So check this out. You can actually, they're setting up a new service to encourage foreign tourists to spend more by letting them basically travel light. I think this is something I've always wanted. Again, Japan just topped 20 million tourists again last year. Most of those not lovely Caucasian people, but other people from Asia and so on, Chinese and Korean in particular. But that said, I mean, these kind of services are things that make traveling around here a lot better. You might have called me Hiko Simon. Well, that's fine. What can you do? Hey, call me what you like. So yeah, anyway, I thought this was a good idea. I'm sharing it. Japan has become amazingly foreign tourist friendly. I still can't get over how much things have improved. I mean, it really used to be really crap to be a foreign tourist in Japan. The tourist infrastructure here was only for Japanese tours, you know, domestic tours. So that's gotten a lot better. But let's get into the politics stuff. This is what I came for, and I know this bores the crap out of you guys, but there we go. Mr. Quarter Chef. The Sergeant Bilko put some Swedish on it. Hey, do me. Make my name Swedish, please. I like it. I can just imagine the Swedish chef pronouncing Mr. Kordychep like that. Mr. Kordychep. So let's get into it. Koike, the Tokyo governor, started a party. Now she's been kind of one of a jump out politician in Japan, and she's gotten a lot of attention because she's a woman. She's gotten very high up in the cabinet. She's proven herself to be pretty competent, and she's ambitious. And she made a big sort of splash when she upset the LDP when Tokyo was having the new governor race, and they were looking to replace an incumbent LDP governor. They kind of had the role all fixed. The inside man, the old boys had set up who they wanted to be make the next Tokyo governor. They didn't even open up the race internally within the LDP for people who want to be the next governor. And she said, "Hey, I want to run." And they said, "Oh no, don't worry about it. You know, don't worry your little head about it, little lady. We have a candidate, so you don't need to do anything." She said, "Screw you guys," without leaving. Well, she left the LDP, but they didn't accept her resignation. She ran against the LDP guy and creamed him, destroyed him, and then she set up a party. And in the Tokyo government, you know, Tokyo prefecture, so what is the population of Tokyo? It's actually, I mean, the greater Tokyo area is like 20 million people, but that includes prefectures around Tokyo. But Tokyo itself, I mean, she's a governor of something like, 8 million people, or 10 million people. Her party destroyed, took a lot of seats from the LDP, destroyed the Democrats, pretty much took all of their seats. And she's been getting a lot of national attention. And when Koizumi this week announced a snap election for late October, the person who stood out was Koike announced that she was all set to run at national level. And, she's been getting a lot of positive attention as someone who is experienced and can actually do the job, who's someone who might be able to pull off holding national office in Japan. So, yeah, basically everybody started jumping on this bandwagon, and just the last 2 or 3 days, things have gotten really crazy around here. Now, a lot of foreign press has been covering Koike and saying, oh, she's the great hope of reform and liberalism and, women and so on. Bear in mind, she was considered right-wing and extremely conservative even within the LDP, so she's not exactly a liberal white knight. If anything, she is as right-wing or even more right-wing than the already very right-wing Shinzo Abe. She believes in Japan having, military forces again, constitutional reform, all of that sort of stuff. Although she's obviously taking a kind of a different pitch on that. She's trying to be more, I mean, the joke was, she said that she was starting a centrist tolerant party, which I thought was funny because she's an extreme right-wing intolerant person. She actually campaigned in her campaign for Tokyo. One of the slogans she used was Tokyo for the Japanese people. Which is funny because Tokyo has the most foreigners of any part of Tokyo. I was a little bit alarmist as a permanent resident myself. So I respect her. I think she's a very competent, given the number of women cabinet ministers who've risen and fallen and so on, I think she is someone who's got her shit together. And I think a lot of people recognize that, and they'll take anybody who's just competent, who's not the Democrats who have been in government and they failed miserably at it, and who's any sort of alternative to the LDP. People are excited to have any sort of a choice in terms of a competent choice. So there's a lot of momentum rallying around her, and that triggered a lot of interesting reactions this week that I guess I'm going to cover in other tweets that I covered. But in the meantime, this has nothing to do with the remilitarization of Japan and the amendment of the Constitution, but check it out. Odaiba has a new Gundam statue, even better than the last one. This time apparently it's going to move. It still is like 10 stories tall. It's like 30 meters or something, and it's freaking awesome. Check that thing out. Boom, booyah. And these things, yeah, they're going to make the next one move. They're getting serious about their robot stuff here. See, I don't know. I like Japan. This is why I like Japan. And if you ask me, they should take down that freaking imitation Statue of Liberty at Odaiba and replace it with that mofo. That's what, seriously, that's what they should have. Tokyo's version of the Statue of Liberty should be a freaking 60-meter tall, twice as high Gundam statue, if you ask me. But there we go. The new Gundam, woohoo, says Sergeant Bilko. Hey, Nihon Deshiko, good to see you. She believes in Tokyo diversity, but diversity apparently means making old people work at McDonald's. Oh, that is a harsh comment, but you're probably accurate with it. But yeah, at least she has ideas, I suppose. The sexy Gaijin. Wow, I missed something there. Whoa, Hikasamen. I think that's how you pronounce it. Thank you for sweetifying my name, Sergeant Bilko. I quite like that there. What else have we got here? More than 24 in the office for prolonged periods of campaign. So that's right. We're going back in time to talking about the air conditioning. Check that out. Seriously, that should be a poll, right? Should we replace the Statue of Liberty statue in Odaiba with this? Yes. Well, clearly there only would need to be one choice in that poll. Speaking of polls, complete aside, I don't talk about American or European or irrelevant news unless I think there's a really good reason to, which I don't hear. But I used to major in Spanish. I was in Spain for my degree, and I majored in separatism in Spain and the history of the Basques and the Catalan region for my term paper for my major. I know a little bit about the subject. I know how screwed over the Catalans were by Franco and how much better everything's supposed to be under democracy in Spain now. It's kind of sucks what's happening in Spain today, in Catalonia. I mean, it's one thing that I know the central government is trying to suppress there being a poll. Again, compared to what happened with Scotland, right? At least, Britain's always recognised it's better to allow these things to be discussed, even if you don't like the discussion. But in Spain, riot police are there beating people with batons who are just standing in front of polling booths. They're trying to take away polling papers. They're shooting unarmed people with rubber bullets because they don't want them to vote. I mean, and this isn't the Soviet Union or Franco. This is the EU. It's insane to me what's happening in Catalonia right now. And I realize that a lot of Spanish people feel very strongly, and maybe I'm not authorized to sort of talk about other people's sort of politics or whatever, and I certainly don't claim to know the details of it, but holy crap, those images, they don't look good for Spain. In fact, they are. I mean, it's win-win for Catalonia, right? I mean, basically, this reinforces the reasons for people wanting to separate. Maybe people who weren't so hot on the idea of separating will become more like this when they see that Spain brought all these foreign police and now they're beating the crap out of ordinary people there. I mean, it's just crazy. So that's a great shame. But anyway, it's not relevant to the show, but it bothers me, so I just said it. Narita Airport and Haneda Airport are both getting extensions. I've long talked about, actually. One, I believe that Tokyo Bay should just be cemented over and turned into an airport with limitless capacity. And forget about Narita, seriously. Narita's like 2 hours away. Nobody who comes to Tokyo wants to land in Narita. It's embarrassing explaining when people say that they've got to stop over at Narita. Can they come see me? No, you can't, because you're not in Tokyo. You're not even close to Tokyo when you land at Narita. Haneda, awesome. And to me, what makes a good airport is that you barely even notice that you were in it. You basically can get in and out of it in a couple of minutes, and it's not too unpleasant when you're in it. And Haneda meets that, actually. I mean, it's not that flash of an airport on the inside, but it's really efficient. You can get from the airplane to, if you're not even picking up a suitcase, it's pretty fast. But especially without a suitcase, hell, I get from the airplane to a taxi or to the monorail in like 10 minutes. I couldn't ask for anything more from an international airport. So Haneda is awesome, and if they keep making it bigger. The other idea which Ishihara always proposed was making the West Airport, the West Tokyo Yokote Air Base, the US Air Base of and that's technically Tokyo government land, and you can land 747s apparently on the runway there. And he said, kick the Americans out. Of course, he's a nationalist. He said kick out the American Air Force and make it into a civilian airport. And I kind of think, yeah, why not? I mean, seriously, the Americans have plenty of air bases in Japan. Why do they have one in prime real estate in West Tokyo, which has a shortage of airport slots, which causes air tickets to be more expensive than they need to be? But you know what? If they're expanding Narita and Haneda in particular, please don't stop expanding Haneda. It's pretty cool. So yeah, there are no direct flights from here to Haneda, only Narita. Well, yeah, so they're expanding the number of slots at Narita, at Haneda. Before it was only close Asia, then it was a couple to America, and now it's sort of getting more and more and more. But yeah, I think for Europe, I think for New Zealand, Australia as well, they don't have direct flights from Haneda. But if or when they arrive, you want to get the Haneda flight. It's just so much better. Hey Ty, I use Narita every time I fly to Australia or New Zealand or whatever, but believe me, whenever I'm flying to like Singapore or Korea or Hong Kong or whatever, I always say, because in those cases I always have a choice of using a flight leaving Haneda or Narita, and I always say even if it costs a little bit more, I want to leave Narita, because damn, especially for work, it just makes it that little bit extra. Yeah, it turns a 3-hour flight into a 6-hour flight from the travel time getting to the airport. So yeah, that's why I do that. Well, London to Haneda and back, I wouldn't. Well, it's a long flight, but believe me, when you arrive, you'll suffer less anyway. So that is good news. So here we go. Let's go back into the politics stuff, because this has been kind of cool this week. And I'm just going to have a little bit of this coffee stuff. It shouldn't keep me awake, but anyway. Something to drink. So Maehara, Seiji Maehara, he became the leader of the Democrats in Japan, the Japan Democrats. They used to be called the Democratic Party of Japan, now they're just the Democrat Party, which is pretty much the same as the US party name, but they're in Japan, of course. He was made the leader of the party like about a month or two ago. Pretty recently they elected a new party leader. Now let me tell you a little bit about the Democrats. The Democrats aspire to be a bit like the US Democrats are to the US Republicans. They've always aspired to be the number 2 party in a 2-party system of periodic swapping of power. That's basically the idea of what the Democrats wanted to be. Unlike the US Democrats, which are sort of left-wing, and the Republicans are kind of right-wing, they're both very big, and of course they have a big span. You have centrists and the Democrats, like, Hillary is kind of almost right-wing, and you've got kind of liberal-ish people in the Republicans, like, for example, you have New York Republicans, socially liberal, Republicans and so on. Well, in Japan, you have basically parties are not ideological in Japan. Some people are. You do have a communist party, you do have left-wing, right-wing people, but the thing is, the LDP's always had a mix of extreme right-wings, like Koike and Abe, of course, and they've always had extreme left-wing people as well. They had, like, what's his name? Hideru, I forget his first name, but Nonaka, the old party secretary, he was not only left-wing, he was pro-North Korea. He was pro-North Korea, and he was the party secretary of the LDP. The LDP has had some extreme left-wing people, like full-on communist level left-wing people. And likewise, the LDP, the Democrats, was made up of basically all the sort of riffraff, the shambles of opposition parties that all had kind of single popular politicians that were hoping to lead, and eventually failed and sort of burned out at their chances to sort of try to do what Koike is doing now. So they all sort of assembled together under like a coalition of failed opposition parties, hoping to assemble into a kind of credible single opposition party. And these people mainly were people, opportunists, who had jumped boat from the LDP when they thought the LDP was going to lose, and they thought, hey, I want to be in the other government, maybe it's a chance for me to get promoted faster. And they also included people from the mainly from the Socialist Party and from the LDP, again, extreme left and extreme right, but generally the more compatible factions of those. Just for an illustration, Naoto Kan, who was Prime Minister, he came from the Socialists, whereas Hatoyama, who was the Prime Minister before Naoto Kan, came from the LDP, and he came from sort of centre-right parties, whereas Naoto Kan came from the Socialist Party, when the Socialist Party of Japan was the sister party of the North Korean Workers' Party, when they were actually affiliated with the governing party of North Korea. They even had parliamentary exchanges at the time that Naoto Kan was in that party, so he actually joined the Japan branch of the North Korean Workers' Party. One of the reasons I don't like the guy, frankly, we all make stupid decisions when we're young, but not many of us joined the North Korean Workers' Party, and anyone who joined the Socialists in the 1970s and 80s did that. So, you have people who are really ideologically incompatible, and the reason that the Democrats basically exploded and failed after they got elected was they held it together so hard. They wanted to beat the LDP so bad that they made a manifesto promising that they were going to change the structure of government. They were going to change lawmaking, but from being something that faceless bureaucrats do to actual elected lawmakers. Which is, revolutionary in Japan. They were going to change the structure of politics, which would basically mean that you would start to get real politics like in other countries, where you could actually vote for a choice of policies offered by different parties. And bearing in mind, in Japan, most politicians don't know how to make laws, and for the bureaucrats, this is like a coup. This is like taking away their power. So there was this really exciting time and a lot of expectation that they had, which I was really excited about. However, the bureaucrats co-opted Naoto Kan and Yoshihiko Noda through the finance ministry, which funds all the ministries, so they control basically the government. And they said, look, no one's going to cooperate with you if you're fighting against us. Get rid of this Hatoyama guy, drop all your promises about reform, and get with the program about increasing the sales tax, and basically breaking every promise in your manifesto. And ironically, it was the socialist, who you think the radical would be the right-wingers, but no, it was the left-wingers. They kicked out Hatoyama. They took over the government. They took the guy who designed the manifesto, Ozawa, and they basically put a bunch of false corruption allegations against him that were enough to get him put under investigation, and he got kicked out of the party. Eventually they came to nothing. They didn't find anything on the guy, but they got rid of him. And then the party just basically spent the rest of the time turning its back on its voters and working for the bureaucracy. And everyone was so disillusioned with them, they got voted out and they got destroyed. So now we're up to today. Ever since they left, what everyone was hoping for was basically, for me, any hope that the Democrats would realize how and why they screwed up so badly. And what that requires is they need to get rid of all the old leaders, and they needed to sit down and say, hey, we lost the trust of the voters because we completely betrayed them. And if they said that, there's a chance that they could build up again into something cool. But they didn't. The first couple of leaders after the election included, like they kept using Noda and Khan as prominent people within the party that basically were there defending their legacy. They wouldn't accept criticism of the old thing, and they just they wouldn't acknowledge what they lost. So they were kind of destroyed until one month ago they got a new leader, Seiji Maehara. I don't like Seiji Maehara that much, but I recognize at least he's a guy who was always one of the guys who wanted to get power instead of Khan and Noda, and he comes from a totally different background. So there was a hope of finally cleaning house, at least in the leadership of the DP, so I was optimistic. And in a way he did exactly what I wanted him to do. The only thing is that it's gone a little bit more dramatic than I was expecting. What has happened is that the new party, the new leader of the Democrats in Japan, if you imagine Hillary just won the Democratic nomination for the Democrats in America, so supposedly the center-left party, he's come out and basically, after seeing Koike declare that she's running in the national election, and bearing in mind she's quite right-wing, I mean she's like from the equivalent of the Tea Party within the LDP in Japan, he did a couple of things. One, he said, I support her, even though he's the leader of the Democrats. He said, I support the Tea Party. Two, he said, I'm not even going to run for the Democrats. You made me the leader of the Democrats a month ago, but I'm going to run as an independent. And I'm going to tell everyone that if they want to run for the Tea Party, they're welcome to, if they want to get on that bandwagon. And basically he effectively said that he would allow the Democrat Party just to fail, to dissolve. It got more complicated when, although he initially suggested merging the Democrats and Koike's party again, get on the bandwagon and get her popularity, she said, no, we don't want your left-wing crazies, and we don't want your terrible branding. That you've lost everyone's trust. So we'll choose who we take from your party, but we're not going to take everybody. Which then caused outrage from the leftists and the LDP, who said, well, where are we going to go if you all walk out? Including the leader of the party said he's going to walk out on the party. The socialists raised their hand and said, hey, you can come and join us. The socialists currently are polling below the margin of error. I think most polls have a margin of error of something like 2 or 3%, and they're polling like 0.4 or 0.5%. But they're willing to take back their old socialist friends from the DP. The communists as well have been very upset. One of the reasons that people didn't want to vote for the Democrats in the last election, supposedly according to some commentaries, was the fact that people who want to vote for a centrist party, they don't want to vote for a party that will cooperate with the communists to win elections. And again, the communists in Japan, I think, are lovely people. I know friends who are communists. I've homestayed with a communist family. Lovely, lovely people. And actually, you listen to them talk, they're pretty reasonable. I don't have anything against, really, the communists. I think the Japanese political scene is better for having them. But that said, the Japanese communists still fundamentally, stand for the abolition of the monarchy, the abolition of the security treaty with America, kind of extreme. They still experience extreme stuff. They're not quite for, abolishing the capitalist economic system in Japan anymore, so good for them on that. But, there are still some significant gaps with them really ever being a credible force here, even though they get about like 10% of the vote sometimes. That is what's going on with that. So basically, the communists and the socialists are waiting to catch about half of the Democrats. Koike today, there's more tweets on this later on, but she actually issued a list of all the people that she will not take in her party, and they include Naoto Kan, ex-North Korean, ex-Prime Minister, but also ex-North Korean Workers' Party affiliate member. Noda Yoshihiko, yes, got rid of him. Basically, all the people that drove me nuts, as I thought, were the people that caused all the problems for the DP. She made a list that these people are not welcome in my party, but all the rest of you can come. Including some of the people that I quite liked from the Democrats that I was hoping would get power. They're all going over to her, and they're not going to take over all the bad baggage, which actually, before all of this happened, I was tweeting, this is what I hope happens, although I never thought it would actually happen, but it's actually happening. And for all of that, although I don't really like Koike's politics, I don't really like her that much as a person, damn, she's doing a really good job. And she's like doing, if I were to just like make up a movie about how I thought Japanese politics should go, to have a credible chance of taking down the LDP in the next election, that's exactly what's happening right now. So it's actually gotten really, really interesting. Bear in mind, there's almost no policy difference at all between there's almost no policy difference at all between the communists and sorry, I got distracted by Sam's comment, which needed to be shown apparently. I don't know why that was actually hidden like that. There's no policy difference between Koike and the LDP. She's practically LDP, like old school, like conservative LDP. But yeah, you know, it's interesting times at the moment. Anyway, just the fact that she's someone who could just go and kick their ass, and just how many people just want to see them get their ass kicked. It's pretty good. So there we go. Sorry. So you can talk to me. I'll go back to looking at the comments now. LDP is a functioning youth wing with an active to Taiwan. Other than that, the main youth wing is communist. They have a Boy Scouts things when they sing the International. I'm not sure I follow that, but there we go. BLK, UNK, I need to do the Young Turk style thingy here for Japanese politics. Well, it's kind of what I do every week. I mean, I actually like this stuff, even though no one else does it. If you find it boring, you can say so in the poll thing. But it gets me excited, you know, down there, pretty much. It gets me excited in ways that just people shouldn't be excited about politics. So I'm going to talk about it. That's just me. And a river of salarymen appeals totally normal. Now, that is an old one. Why is that there? That's an old Shinewa one. Twitter. So, Twitter's moving to 280 characters. Now, this is interesting. Partly for me, I'm always happy to have more. I always hate editing my tweets to squeeze them, force them into 140, although I appreciate the discipline that it gives. But all of a sudden, they've decided after like 140 characters was always like the whole thing that defined Twitter. Now they've decided to make it 280. Now, I'm wonderful, that's good, but I was kind of like, so how does their blog post prove that that their priorities are screwed up? Well, I looked at their blog post talking about it, and their blog post is messed up. In fact, they have a link to it here. Engadget does a thing where they link to their own articles, so this might not be a good idea, but let's have a look. Yeah, they don't link outside. They basically have a blog where they show how unfair Japanese is. They say, look, I can post like 2 or 3 times as much content in Japanese as you can in English. So it's really not as it's not fair on languages that are not as dense for explanation as English. And it gives an unfair advantage to Japanese people who almost never hit the limit. So what we're going to do is we're going to double the number of characters in English so that we can express as much as Japanese people, and we're not going to allow Japanese people to use it. This is the blog post of Twitter. Twitter, are you fucking kidding me? Are you serious? They're not. Basically, they're making, so I'm all for 280 characters, but they're not going to allow you to do 280 characters in Japanese. Why? Because Japanese isn't fair. Apparently somebody in America discovered that other languages exist and was alarmed to find out that some of them even work better than English, and rather than thinking, I must learn this wonderful language and learn to express myself in this language and learn all the wonderful advantages of speaking it, they think, no, we need to retard that language. I mean, seriously, I'm wondering why they didn't just ban Japanese people and Chinese people from tweeting more than like 70 characters. So we're doubling English not because it's wonderful to share more on Twitter, we're doubling it because Japanese is unfair. What is wrong with Twitter? I mean, I love Twitter as a tool. I do, and I don't want the business to fail, which it looks like it's going to do, and this sort of thing perhaps is why. Like, the people there, there's something wrong with them. Just don't do anything with it. How about that? Just leave it as it is. I mean, seriously, it's like they're just sitting there at Twitter not making any money, thinking, hey, how can we make this different? I mean, they went into the idea of making it more like Facebook, and no one wanted that because we like it because it's not Facebook. And so they sat there some more, and they thought about it some more, and they thought, hey, you know what? Japanese people, they're cheating. Their language is cheating. Let's just double the characters. So yes. Stream is having difficulties. I've got all green here for stream health. I can show you. I'm sorry if you guys are not getting good stream, but I've got green on the stream status there, so I'm sorry about that. Anyway, shouldn't their blogs be 280 characters? Good point, the Sergeant Bilko. Actually, and you'd think Twitter would be able to express themselves a lot more efficiently than that. Yeah, it's working well in Sweden, so I guess who is having trouble with the Koike chat? I don't know, man. Maybe someone on your Wi-Fi is looking at something that they shouldn't be. Possibly an HD video. I don't know. I'm not gonna judge. I don't judge about that sort of thing, but it certainly isn't. Although I see, is that Oniko? Nihon Oniko. You're getting the same issues here as well. So who knows? The stream was going Uncle Chop on you. Well, I'm sorry about that. Uncle Chop, you suck. So anyway, I don't know. I'm all for 280 characters, but why can't I tweet in Japanese with 280 characters? Because this language, which I spent years learning, is unfair because it's more information dense. That just sucks. Anyway, so yeah, okay, well, some other people had it, but it seems to be back smooth again, so sorry if you had any trouble with that. But yeah, 280 characters, I think that's a good thing. But oh yeah, and there were some cheating ways to use 280 characters which are no longer working, so that doesn't really work anymore. This is the other big story of the week. Your Name, J.J. Abrams is going to produce a movie in Hollywood, a live version of Your Name. Your Name, I haven't seen it, so I'm not really qualified to talk about this, but hell, why not? I've seen Death Note, I've seen Ghost in the Shell, and I'll go further. I have not seen the anime for Death Note, and I have not seen the anime for Ghost in the Shell. As you all know, I'm not an anime guy. I watched both those movies. Ghost in the Shell, I thought was kind of meh. It was kind of I've seen better Japanese adaptations into live stuff, but it wasn't that bad. I mean, it was okay. And I understand Ghost in the Shell is one of the movies that gets a lot of people into anime and into Japan, so maybe I should watch it. I think the concepts of the movie are cool. And again, that reflects that probably it was a good underlying story. The whole bullshit discussion around that movie about cultural appropriation and stuff just drove me nuts. I mean, that's just wrong. It's great if people get into Japanese culture through discovering cool stuff that came out of Japan. So Your Name is the biggest selling movie in Japan of all time. It's a bit like Freaky Friday, from what I understand. It's a people changing, discovering themselves living in someone else's body. In this case, in different parts of Japan. So I guess you could do it really interestingly in America. Does it need to have Asian people? No. Does it need to be animated? No. I mean, I did make the joke. I mean, it's like J.J. Abrams watched this movie and he thought, wow, this is awesome. It just needs to be in English, not Japanese. It needs to be, get rid of all the Japanese people, and it needs to not be animated, and he probably thought it needs some lens flare. And with all of those things, I mean, J.J. Abrams, he does okay with his movies. I don't consider him to be like Spielberg, quite. I mean, his movies, he's done a good job with Star Wars, he did a good job with Star Trek. He does good stuff. I don't consider him like a super director, but he's not a Stanley Kubrick or anything, but I think it's in good hands with him. I'd be curious to see how he does it. And you know what? If the outcome is that more people want to discover the original Japanese anime as a result of it, which they may find out to be better than the movie that he makes. If he makes a good movie, all the better. So, for me, I'm not against the idea of remaking these Japanese movies in America and even using them all with American, Caucasian, Black, Hispanic characters. Who cares? That's great. Good stories are good stories. Share them and celebrate them. But there is the usual howls of outrage, and I'm sure there will be. Again, there's going to be another video. I mean, I remember the outrage about Ghost in the Shell. Remembering it's a freaking robot, it doesn't have a race. But it was a robot containing the body of a Japanese person, Jun Kusanagi or whatever. And some Asian person in America who didn't appear to be of Japanese heritage made a movie showing a little girl showing how sad she was that her favorite Japanese comic or something was being made with white people. And Scarlett Johansson was being pressured to apologize for being white and doing the role. I mean, that was just kind of ridiculous, and I hope that sort of thing doesn't happen again with this. Good stories are good stories. I mean, look at Kurosawa's movies, The Magnificent Seven, Rashomon. You got to see Rashomon. Yes, I got put onto it by Rochelle Kopp. to actually watch these movies properly. I'm terrible at watching them, and I watched it, and it was the way I remember it, it was pretty good. So you know, all of these things, I think it's okay. Hey, Nihon Oniko lived in Matsudo for a year. That's a mild Yankee hometown. I was in full Yankee hometown. I was a couple of stops down the line at Kashiwa. I was there for 3 years. Motoko Kusanagi, thank you for correcting me. See, so you know, I'm a Philistine when it comes to this stuff. But yeah, you know, it's all good. By the way, you talk about Yankee towns. I'm Mr. Yankee Town. I lived in Nishi. I lived in West Hachioji. Like, not even Hachioji. I lived in West Hachioji, and I lived in Kashiwa. I got all you guys beat, seriously. Unless you guys have like lived deep in Saitama, or hell, I can't think of anywhere that could really tell. Especially, I mean, the combination of Hachioji, which is like where all the bosses of car drivers come from, anyway, the drifters and so on. And Kashiwa, I mean, seriously, Chibaraki, I've got you guys. Speaking of cultural diversity, let's see what else we've got. We've got like 10 more minutes, and I also want to play some live music. Oh yeah, there's a new GoPro Hero coming out. Everyone loves that stuff, and they're releasing a 360 camera that looks like it's going to be super expensive, but it looks like it's going to be like 5K. So yeah, that's probably going to be worth getting. Oh yeah, it looks like all tattoos in Japan are about to be made illegal. A court case in Osaka, I believe, said that you need a medical license to do tattooing, and there's no framework for giving tattooists medical licenses in Japan, but because it involves a needle going into the skin, they said it needs a medical license, and i.e. everyone in Japan is operating illegally, which is kind of stupid, but there you go. A lot of people come to Japan for tattoos. I think this is wrong. I mean, you know, I'm not particularly for or against. It is a choice that people make, and you got to live with the consequences that go along with having them, and I don't have them. I mean, it's just not convenient really in Japan, but at the same time I think it's totally free. Anyone who wants to do it and knows what they're getting into should be able to do it. And I know Japan has its hang-ups about tattoos, but this is too much. I mean, seriously, this is just stupid. Oh yeah, the the BFR. For a start, what I love about the BFR is that it's called the BFR, and it sounds for exactly what it sounds like. Elon Musk has created this enormous rocket that's going to be able to take people to Mars and the Moon, but he also said you could put a whole bunch of people in it, fly it anywhere on Earth in like 30 minutes, and it would cost like the same cost as a regular air ticket. You'd have incredible G's and all that sort of stuff. But holy crap, you'd probably go into space, right, while you do this, and you'd actually go into space and go around the world at 30,000 kilometers per hour and land somewhere. Dude, I love this, man, and I've just been watching a lot of Netflix. I've been watching two things that I really like. One is, is it Arthur Isaac? He does like these fantastic futurism vlogs on YouTube that you should watch. In fact, I should put in a link about that. Anyway, that's really awesome. I've been watching that lately, and I've also been watching The Expanse, which is a Netflix science fiction show. I've watched all the episodes now, and it's basically about a future where, you know, the humanity is organized between people living in the asteroid belt, Mars and Earth, and it's really well done. And like, here is the dude who's making all of that kind of possible. It's awesome, and it's called the BFR. I mean, who doesn't like that? And their plans for, by 2024, putting people on Mars and dumping a whole bunch of cargo on Mars before that. This was kind of funny. What's wrong with this map? Normally I would say, oh, they're missing New Zealand. Again, who cares? You know, it's at the edge of the map. But they've actually got New Zealand there. It's just the top of it. They've cut off the bottom, which is, again, fine, whatever. But, you know, they've got New Zealand on it, so that's okay. Hey, look, they've got Taiwan on there. Hey, they've got Iceland. They've got Hainan, the island from China. That's pretty nice. I mean, this map has almost everything, doesn't it? It has almost every island that you can think of. I see Cuba. What's it missing? I see Sri Lanka. I mean, there's a small island. They got that. It's really good detail here. Good detail. What's it missing? It's missing the Pyeongchang Olympics. Pyeongchang, not Pyongyang. They're not having the Winter Olympics there, but they're having it in South Korea. And there's some country, I mean, they just didn't want to put on the map. Go figure, go figure. That was kind of fun. I mean, yes, the moral of the story is don't colonize Korea, because they'll just be dicks forever. I mean, and feel entitled to do it. But again, yeah, classy move there. If you have less than 10,000 views, which basically is like spammers who have just created accounts. This doesn't really affect many people, but yeah, you won't be able to put external links. So yes, they try to have the headlines there to put outrage on them, but it's really not a big deal, seriously. I mean, 10,000 subscribers is a big threshold, but 10,000 views, you'd be on, even a small channel would be on YouTube for like, geez, 3 or 4 months, and you'd get that many, so don't worry about that. Narita Airport's getting another runway, which is good. It'll mean cheaper air tickets, but you don't want to go there. This is Koike saying that she's got the dirty 15 that she does not want to accept, and this is the socialist saying, hey, you can join us, which of course nobody would want to do because they fall below the margin of error, and that's the end of it. This is an old story where on Netflix there was a bug on Netflix which caused the subtitles of The Godfather to show up on every video in Japanese. The Japanese subtitles to The Godfather would show up on every video, including some hilarious screenshots, for example, of Thomas the Tank Engine with quotes from The Godfather in seemingly appropriate situations. So that's old. Dave Honda, be nice to Tasmania. Be nice to Tasmania. I'm going to do some music. Are you okay for doing some music? We are out of time. I've got 2 minutes left, but hell, I've got a bunch of actual like loops set up that I'm going to turn into tracks that I just haven't gotten around to doing, and I'd quite like to do that. So would you indulge me and allow me to play some tracks? So yes, well, let's face it, you don't really have a choice, do you? Okay, so let's do that. Let's switch over into the K-Oscillator iPad capture format. Oh yeah, that reminds me, I have to put this in, and I need to get earphones in, which I don't have handy, so let me go and put, in fact, let me put the fancy headphones in, and let me take these off. Let me plug in. Yeah, I've got to sort out make sure that the comment capturing is the same when I change the resolution like that. So there we go. Nihon Oniko, thanks. You're welcome. I don't know what I did, but happy to be of service. And let's put that up there. Let's turn on the audio capture device. Let's check that there is sound, which maybe I need to just quickly. Okay, well, let me get this activated by turning off that sound, and okay. So I've got a couple of loops, and you tell me which one sounds good, and we can play a track. Let me put this in. Let me put this on. This should work here. That is, why is that not capturing? Hang on a sec. Well, let's try this out. Oh. It's the HDMI screwing with it. Okay, well, you can't see the video, but anyway, let me just try this one more time. Sorry, I'll mute that when I pop this out. Okay, here we go. Maybe you just hear this. Well, I did the wrong word. Do some head banging. Maybe I'll do that. So I'll try another track here. In fact, let's pick a drum and bass track. This one. Okay, let's try this one, drum and bass track, and then I'm out. I kind of messed it up at the end there, but I'm just playing around anyway. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm going to make some of these into tracks. I think they're pretty good. And I am going to check out for now. So I hope you enjoyed the show. I'll see you again next week. I'm going to be back. We're going to be talking about more of this stuff. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're informed. Remember to do the polls. There are polls there. Click on the eye. Put your cursor over the video. See the eye. And yeah, have a good week, everybody. Peace. Chung, chung, there. Boom. Peace out. Have a good week. Turn this thing off now. Oh, here we go. Stop stream.